Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my new video where we are going to go over my top 5 tips for Skarner players. Now, if you're new to my channel, my name is Lolfit. I do educational content, do tips videos, guide videos, and also stream here on YouTube. If you would like to check that out, make sure to hit that bell button. Also, my goal with this video is to make you an overall a better Skarner player and give you a better understanding of the champion by the end of the video. If you want to contact me directly, I'm going to put my Discord link down in the pinned comments below, and make sure if you have played a lot of Skarner to put your own tips down below. I'm a bit limited with this format and really appreciate it when I see other people trying to help people that are going to be coming to this video. So with all that in mind, let's get into the first tip. Alright, and getting into tip number 1, I want to talk about 2 stats that you really need when you are playing Skarner top. But before we get into that, I want to talk about my influence and why I started playing Skarner top. One of the people in my community said, hey, have you tried Skarner top? There's this guy that's in Grandmaster Challenger and he is really good and he has a super high win rate, and I decided to check him out. His name is Merthos. I'm going to put a link to his Twitch in my video description if you want to check him out, as he is kind of the granddaddy of just being this Skarner top play, and I just wanted to give him a shout out because I've just been loving playing this champion up in the top. It's kind of made top fun again for me, so I really want to make sure that he gets a bit of recognition for this. But the 2 stats that you need extremely, just a max amount of what you really need when you are playing Skarner top, and that is a CDR max. There's usually 2 paths to go down. There's either the Iceborne Gauntlet path or the Trinity Force path, and both of them are giving 20% CDR, and you need to fill in the rest of the CDR based on the items that you are getting throughout the game, because he is very heavily ability based, and you can get his really nice stun down to about 6 seconds, and his shield down to 6 seconds, his Q down to 1.3, and his R down to 44 seconds. So always make sure that you're maxing CDR. And another thing that is really important when you are playing Skarner top is to get that, and when you're playing Skarner in general, is that summoner spell cooldown reduction is going to be extremely important. And the 2 ways you can get that is by Cosmic Insight giving you 5%, and then also with your Ionian boots are going to give you a 10% reduction on your summoner spells. So obviously when you're really far behind and you're getting beat up a bit, you do not want to go these really offensive boots. But when you're doing really well, you're getting a lot of picks and you feel like you can carry the game, Ionian boots are going to be a great pickup to get that extra 10% CDR off of your flash, because that is really your biggest engagement tool when you are playing Skarner. So besides the CDR, what you really need is a decent amount of movement speed to catch the enemies. There are a couple ways you can look to power up your movement speed. First of all, it is the magical footwear is almost a must when you are playing Skarner, because it just gives you free boots, so it's giving you a free 300 gold, and then it also gives you the extra movement speed, which is going to be so extremely strong. So as well as, if you didn't know, your W gives a decent amount of movement speed, and then you want to be looking for items that give you a bit of movement speed and they allow you to really catch people out of position, because they do not expect the Skarner to be moving that quickly when you are doing it. So those are the 2 stats you should be focusing on quite heavily when you are playing Skarner, and that will wrap up tip number 1. Alright, and getting into tip number 2, I want to talk about just the absolutely nutty amount of CC you can get on an enemy target when you are playing Skarner. And this doesn't have anything to do even with the slow that you're going to be adding on top of everything if you go down the Iceborne Gauntlet path. And this is how you should look to execute it. First of all, you want to start the CC chain off with an E, and wait for them to get that little bit of a debuff. As you can see up here, it will show kind of this same symbol up there. So we go E, you can even wait a little bit, auto, wait for that stun bar to pass off. You can drag them under tower, and then you have another E up after that. The whole point of this that I really want to go over, and I think is really important, is start getting really comfortable with the CC bar and making sure you're not R'ing too soon after they are maybe halfway through their stun duration. You want to, if you ever played World of Warcraft, you want to stack the stuns in a continuous amount without overlapping any of these stun durations. So again, we're going to go E, and then we're going to get an auto, wait for that bar to go off, then we're going to R, and then we're going to have another E up, and we're going to be able to get a double stun off on this target on top of an R, and that is just going to be a great amount of time. So how this is going to be like 250 from that, and then another 1.75 seconds. This is really going to allow you to enable to lock down a high value target on the enemy team. Skarner does so well when he is able to just take a really high value target out of the enemy team and just really CC them down for an extremely long duration and take them out of the fight. So always keep in mind before you go into team fights, do check out who the highest value target is. Maybe it's an ADC with 3 or 4 items. Maybe it's a bruiser that's just been crushing everyone all game and he really struggles with CC. Maybe something like a Darius or an Alawi that really is just shredding your front line at the start. If you were able to get that big CC on them, or maybe there's a mage in the mid lane that did extremely well. So always make sure that you're maximizing your CC chains as well as picking the correct target for your CC chains. And that will wrap up tip number 2. Okay, and getting into tip number 3, I want to tell you guys about something that I think is extremely important when you are playing Skarner in the top lane, and that is when you are able to push the enemy under tower and they are just CSing under tower and you are unable to really dive them. How you want to look to play this out is by making sure that you are capturing the Crystal Spire here, making sure that you have scuttle control, as you can take scuttler extremely quickly with your great amount of CC, and able to get this really nice big field of extra movement speed and combat prowess, and looking for roaming potential when you are playing Skarner in the top lane in both the mid lane and the jungler, as Skarner was predominantly a jungler before he was only thought of as a jungler. He has amazing ganks between his stuns, his slow if you have an Iceborne, or his ultimate, and really you're able to just get a lot of people ahead that might be struggling in their lane, and you are able to just pull them so deep into the lane and really set up for your mages. A lot of champions in the mid lane just really thrive on being set up, like for example something like a Ziggs or a Syndra or a Zed or a Fizz, where they know exactly where the target is. They're able to just do an insane amount of damage. So whenever you have the enemy champion just CSing under turret, make sure to take advantage of this downtime where you're not going to be missing CS and they are stuck up there CSing, or they have to take a big chunk of gold loss to help and roam with you. So really make sure that you have a bit of dominance in this river, and you can also set up traps if you're really far ahead on Skarner and the jungler is obviously going to be a lower level than you, as you are a solo laner. You can look to set up traps on the enemy jungler when he approaches the really important camps around here. So make sure that you have plenty of control wards to really help with your roams, and that will wrap up this tip for Skarner. Alright, and jumping into the next tip, I think that one thing is really important that you want to start going with Skarner, and that is teleport is so strong when you are playing Skarner. I'm going to give you an example. I know that a lot of low elo players really like running Ignite or Ghost and really like dueling and duking it out with the people up in the top lane, but when you have a champion with this much CC, just an amazing way to really spread a lot of the lead and your influence around the map is with teleport, and being able to just ask your allies for these deep wards in lane can really help set up some great situations where you are going and really turning the match on their head with a good amount of CC and pick with your impale. So make sure that you're using teleport, and this will also allow you to get teleport flanks when you are when it's a little bit later in the game and you're not in laning phase anymore, and able to impact people from an angle that they are not expecting, particularly when you're able to get home guard on top of a teleport into a pick. Is just going to be so much more invaluable to yourself than it will be maybe getting an Ignite on the enemy, or maybe getting a Ghost or something like that. So always make sure that you are taking teleport with Skarner in the top lane, because you are going to just be able to impact the map through roams and through teleport flanks so heavily, and you're able to spread your lead, which very few top laners are able to do at a great extent in the early game. That's why a lot of them are like, oh, top lane is always such a coin flip. So that will wrap up this tip. Alright, and for the final tip, I'm going to just go over a bit of housekeeping. We're going to go over runes, max orders, item builds, and stuff like that, because he is a bit of a newer pick. Even though Skarner is a really old champion, just seeing someone that can actually get to Grandmaster and Challenger, I think is starting to have a lot of people starting to pick up the Skarner in the top lane. So how you want to look to play out the max order is E into W into Q, as these are really your more high impact spells, and this is more just to give you a bit of a sheen proc and to give you a little bit extra damage in those consistent damage fights. So always make sure E, W, and then Q. So there are a couple of different ways to build Skarner. You can go, I think Overgrowth might be a little bit better than Revitalize. I was just seeing how much extra shielding you would get from it, and then Bone Plating can be really strong against assassins, or Conditioning if you want to be scaling really well. But I think Shield Bash is so extremely strong for Skarner, so make sure that you're picking up Shield Bash, because it double dips into the scaling of it. So you're going to be building quite a bit of health when you are playing Skarner, and you're also going to be getting your shields are going to scale off HP as well. So it's going to get this double part where it says 8.5% of new shield amount, and it scales with that red number, meaning your base health. So make sure, or your overall HP points. So make sure that you have Shield Bash, and it'll give you a nice little bit of extra damage, as well as a little bit of extra defenses. As you can see here, it says while shielded, gain 10 bonus magic armor and resistance, which is great for Skarner to make him a little bit tankier. You can go a Conqueror type of rune set if you want to really duel, and you feel like you're really comfortable in the lane, and you feel like you can beat up on the enemy, and you're taking a lot of consistent trades. As Grasp of the Undying is a little bit of a safer pick, and Grasp of the Undying you should not be taking against range matchups, as you will struggle quite a bit to get that consistent grasp proc on the enemy when you are doing that. There are also things like Omni Stone, because the inspiration tree has so many goodies for Skarner that it works quite well. But so just kind of look at those maybe 3, or if you're first trying out Skarner and you're a little bit hesitant, things like Aftershock can be a decent pick if you're just looking to be a tank in the front line and you don't really want to build too aggressive and just have a little bit more of a forgiving game. So there are like 4 different types of rune setups you can do, and you can ask me in the comments down below if you want any further explanation on any of the rune setups. And as I was saying before a little bit in the first tip, you can go 2 different types of things. With Skarner, you really need that CDR, and you really need a Sheen proc to give you a little bit of extra damage and threat. If you're feeling comfortable, you're getting pretty far ahead, Trinity Force is a great pick, but it is also extremely expensive. With Iceborne Gauntlet, it is a bit cheaper, and it is going to provide you a lot of tanky stats. However, you will miss out on the Phage proc that you are getting with the Trinity Force. Some people have augmented that with an Iceborne Black Cleaver build that's really strong, because you get a really quick amount of CDR in the early game, and you get that Phage and that Sheen proc. It's almost like a budget type of Triforce build where you're tanky, but you don't have to invest so much into it, because sometimes when you get behind, just getting that Trinity Force, it just takes so insanely long. And then just augmenting your build for what you are looking to do in the game. This would be a very squishy type of pick build with a good amount of damage from the Andres and Ardent, a good amount of pick from Shirelias, and a adaptive helm to really stop a lot of the AP that would be thrown at me in a match. So kind of fool around a little bit with the items, but always remain consistent with your core of getting 40% CDR when you are playing Skarner. And that's going to wrap up my video, guys. Make sure to check out Merthos, and I'm going to put a link to his Twitch in the description, and maybe even in the pinned comments as well. And as always, guys, take it easy.